Ah, Gay Paris, the art capital of the world. The metros seem to have more musicians than riders. Actually, Paris isn't the art capital of the world anymore. Most critics think it lost that distinction to New York after World War II. But now it's trying to win back the title, chiefly with this, Beaubourg, or officially, the Georges Pompidou National Center of Art and Culture.
What the hell is this? Huh? What is it?
Where are we?
That's the museum. That's the museum. What is it? The Pompidou Beaubourg.
Mais il n'y a pas d'exposition qui m'intéresse là, spécialement. On reviendra à la rentrée.
It's hard not to feel insecure in museums. Why do we go to them? We're looking for something there, but we're not sure what it is. The French had the idea that if you could build a cultural center that was controversial and zany and fun, you could not only get experienced museum goers to relax, you might be able to attract people who normally wouldn't go near such places. I like the center, but there are definitely those who don't. It's probably easier to like if you're a visitor than if you live next door. Since I count myself as one of those frequently bewildered in museums, I decided I had the basic credentials to make a film about this one. Although here, while changing camera position, I stumbled on a beer can. There's a design center, a music research lab, a library, and a museum of 20th century art. Half the site was left as open space, and it's been taken over by local talent. The idea is to try and democratize art, bring it out of the chic galleries and into the streets. The architects wanted to emphasize openness and informality. This was the reason behind the plaza, and for turning the design of a conventional building inside out, to try and seduce inside the merely curious. But by sticking this wild, noisy place right in the middle of an old historic neighborhood, the planners have not only infuriated the traditionalists, they've raised nasty questions about what art is and who it's for. Some people who've grown fond of the center call it a friendly monster. Catherine, my sound recordist, fell into conversation with another crew. Obviously, we're not the only ones to find the center a snappy subject for a movie. This man turned out to be from Moscow, hands across the sea.
But when you look at it from here, you can think of Notre Dame. You know that Notre Dame is on the island.
We don't have that in Atlanta. What is that building over there, man?
This isn't the first institution to try and grapple with the issue of high culture versus popular culture. Museums have always worried about how they could display art that pushed back the frontiers of modernism, but could still be accessible to everyone. But Beaubourg has compounded the challenge architecturally by being itself an affront to traditional taste. In an open letter of protest to the National Director of Public Works, a number of Parisian artists said, "We writers, painters, sculptors, and architects, all passionately concerned with that spirit of beauty which, till now, had been preserved intact in Paris, wish to protest with all possible strength and indignation in the name of French art, history, and taste, now menaced and threatened, against the erection in the very heart of our capital of this useless monster, this Tower of Babel." The date of the letter was January 10th, 1889. The subject was an earlier Parisian monument. The center can be confusing. There are some arrows and numbers, but they don't pull you through the experience in any set sequence. This is a place where you taste at random, whether you love art and respond to it emotionally, or are more apt to wonder if the whole business isn't a hoax.
I think this is absolutely great, really. But when I was a kid, I had an erector set, and I never had enough pieces. I always used to buy more erector sets. You know? I always ran out of pieces, and this is an absolute explosion of my childhood fantasy.
Do you think it in any way it conflicts with the
Oh
art?
no, on the contrary. You know, I think that if you're building a building to house modern art, then why not go architecturally wild? Go as wild as the art. What could be wilder than some of the screwball stuff that's in here?
Once you come in, you're focused on the art, and you're having fun with it. Because there are lots of humorous things, so you're really enjoying it. Go for it. I was just at the Louvre. You just get a totally different...
I probably am guilty of going through rather rapidly, but the purpose of that is to get some feeling for what's available and decide what I like, and then decide where I really want to spend my time.
Yeah. But now that's interesting because you use the word guilty. Like going through a museum quickly is like a sin.
Yes. I think.
Where does that come from? I mean, what?
Well, that's an interesting
That is interesting.
No, in other words, it means I really was not there to study.
We went up to the top floor where we'd arranged to meet one of the center's architects. When Pompidou decided to push ahead with his project, he set up an international design competition. To everyone's amazement, and a good deal of French resentment, it was won by two young foreigners, Richard Rogers from England and Renzo Piano, an Italian. Piano can be seen here gracefully answering my familiar questions about his scandalous building.
People is looking down. So the piazza is like a theater for the people in the building, but as well, the people in the building are like a theater for the people in the piazza, you know? And that double relationship is very important to me.
Okay, all right. That you can clearly see that. But what a lot of people are going to tell you is, great, that's all nice, and people having a lot of fun. But what's that got to do with a museum? What's it got to do with a library? What's it got to do with? I mean, here, for example, now What does it have to do with paintings or with...
Well, museums have usually a sort of psychological barrier. I mean, what we have been trying to do here is to collapse that barrier. And people, méfiance, how you say in English, méfiance?
They're afraid, or
yes.
they suspect it?
Yes, the suspect of people against the museum, against art, is actually falling here. And the public you have here is the public of the underground station more than the public of a museum.
Les deux, là, comme ça. The helicopter, helicopter. The English helicopter. The Japanese. Ils vous écrasent, ils vous massacrent. Ils vont jamais au casse-pipe. Et pas bien plus à papa les faire casser. Non. À l'arrière.
What I'm sure about is that a lot of people come not for a specific reason. They come over, they walk up, they look Paris, then they go back home. They just come over as they go to the Tour Eiffel.
How do you feel about it?
Well, I'm not unhappy with that. I mean, this building, let's say, a lot of people said it's like a factory. And they said it's a raffinerie, it's a factory, just to be bad against the building. But to me, that was a fantastic compliment. A factory, fantastic. What is better than a factory for the culture? That's something producing something, you know?
Sebastian Dupuy lives in the neighborhood, and he watched the center being built. He and his friends play both on the plaza and inside the building.
Ça dépend. Il y a des trucs que j'aime, il y a des trucs qui me font chier.
Qu'est-ce qui te fait chier?
Bah, là, je sais pas moi, mais par exemple, j'aime bien regarder les peintures. Mais alors, mon père, par exemple, il reste 2 heures sur une peinture. Alors, j'ai fini l'exposition, il en est au 4e tableau de l'exposition. Alors ça, je trouve ça chiant. Par exemple, il y a des tableaux vraiment que je trouve moches, par exemple. Il y a des tableaux là-haut qu'on voit des escalators. Chacun ses goûts. Hein. À mon avis, c'est pas pour faire beau.
De ton avis, il est pourquoi?
À mon avis, ouais, c'est un centre culturel.
I'm trying to find out how you feel when you're in a museum.
Yeah, sometimes it's almost painful. You know, it's so overwhelming, and so much what you've thought about and dreamt about is done, you know, when you were born. My favorite period happened to be going on the year I was born.
Who were some of the people that you're talking about?
Like Picasso and Paul Klee. They're all.
I used to go to museums to try and meet women. Looking back on it now, it seems a little strange that I could have had such a casual interest in art myself, and yet still hope to find the girl of my dreams among paintings. Although I did eventually marry this woman. We didn't meet in a museum, but she enjoys them. I haven't decided if there's a lesson here. Paris's other cultural monument, the Louvre. On any Sunday afternoon, about 90% of the people lined up outside the building are there for one primary purpose: to see the Mona Lisa. Across the street from the Louvre is the apartment of my wife's oldest friend, Marie-Claude Brossolet. This is Marie-Claude.
Let's go.
Since the two of them agree on almost nothing, and since we knew Marie-Claude, like many other Parisians, disliked the Pompidou Center, we asked her to meet us there and explain why.
Parce qu'il y en a trop.
Il y en a trop de quoi?
Trop de tout. Trop de tuyaux, trop de maisons, trop de gens, trop de musique.
Trop de maisons, moins de maisons qu'ailleurs.
Non, c'est pas la question, mais c'est simplement que tu as l'impression que les gens viennent regarder les marginaux qui jouent de la musique. Je veux dire, c'est insupportable à la limite. C'est pas un zoo, les gens.
C'est la première fois que tu viens ici?
Regarde-le. Si tu me fais rentrer dans le musée, c'est effectivement la première fois. Alors gueule.
Alors gueule, c'est-à-dire, comment est-ce que tu les définirais?
Ils ont pas l'air de bourgeois en mal de culturel. Attention Ralph, où est-ce qu'on va nous? On rentre comme ça.
Bon.
Bon me paraît le seul commentaire possible là-dessus. Quand tu vois ça, faut dire bon. D'accord.
Oui, ça, alors là, vraiment...
Tu peux aussi ajouter tant pis en regardant ça. It's funny because I feel more like looking outside than inside. And I'm not supposed to be looking outside. But what I like is actually outside.
Je trouve que le musée en haut est plutôt confort, quoi. Enfin,
il est confort parce qu'il est frais.
Ouais.
Je le trouve confortable parce qu'il est vide, ce qui n'est pas forcément le but.
Parce qu'il n'est pas très plein.
Parce qu'il n'est pas très plein et que c'est pas de la peinture qui t'épuise le cerveau parce qu'il y a les trois quarts des trucs qui sont médiocres. Bon, donc c'est un musée normal.
I mean, is it that it's pretentious, you think? Is it...
I'm not sure the right word, pretentious. I think it's missed. They missed the point. What should have been done in the center of the city.
What should have been done in the center of the city?
Something else. A real place for a feast. Not this.
I think that's wrong, because I think this place is... It's because this place exists that we have the idea that we should have a place for a feast.
No. Look at the people outside. There are none here. They're not interested in the museum at all.
No, but the idea is that if you draw people to the central place, some of them will come inside. People who have never been exposed to art before, some of them will come inside and will be exposed to it. They won't go to the Louvre.
No, neither will I. C'est trop triste. Mais si tu veux, ce qui me frappe, c'est que cet étage est vide. Bon, voilà le musée central de la ville de Paris, un dimanche de juillet. Et on est quoi? On est 6. Quand tu vas au Prado, tu fais la queue dans l'escalier.
No, you can't argue there because this place draws 20,000 people a day.
A day, I know.
It's a thing, I mean...
Mais où est-ce qu'ils vont s'ils sont pas dans le musée? À la cafétéria.
What you spill?
Oh, Coke.
Here you go.
I need a
Did you get that on film? Hun?
Got that on film? The Americans strike again.
Estelle and David Strassler and Ken and Andrea Becker spent the morning in the museum and then went up to the cafeteria for lunch. The day before, they had visited the Louvre.
There's a listing of the top 5 things that you see in Paris. No. But we're looking forward to going to the sewers because we'll probably have one up and everybody else has been to Paris because they haven't gone to the sewers. You know, they've gone to the Notre Dame and they've gone to the Louvre.
My favorite was the Rodin. I really enjoyed that.
When I come to places like this, and I see some of the things that are being displayed, as I said to Estelle, the thought that comes into my mind is you can fool all of the people all of the time. You can. You can put something up and light it and say this is art, and people who have less confidence in their own opinion will agree. And some people look at that and say that is junk and ridiculous and just walk away from it.
And what makes something lasting? I mean, is the Leonardo da Vinci's painting, you know, in the Louvre, they have it, the Mona Lisa, that great? I mean, what makes that one picture so great? There are too many things that...
When you talk about the Mona Lisa, at least you can say whether or not it looks like a particular woman or not. I mean,
well, I dated her, I know.
So many people had brought up the Louvre and the Mona Lisa, we decided we'd better go have a look.
Excuse me, I just saw you taking a picture of the Mona Lisa. Can you tell me why?
I want to get it, instead of off a card, I wanted it in a snap.
Uh-huh.
I don't know whether it would come out, though. I don't think it will, somehow.
Why do you want a snap of it?
Because I think it's one of the most famous paintings. I mean, I'm not artistic to that extent, but I think it's one of the most famous ones.
Uh-huh. Well, I can understand that, but as you say, if it comes out, it probably won't be nearly as good as you could get. I mean, because it's dark as a reflection.
I guess maybe because I said, well, I was in here taking it, instead of on a photo. Just to prove that I was here. That's terrible, isn't it, to say that?
No, I don't know. I'm sure that's the reason for everybody.
Yeah, I think so. Probably most of them would say, well, at least I was here, you know.
But it's strange because nobody would doubt you were here, would they?
I doubt it, no.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
This is in not very good condition.
When we finished shooting, I realized I no longer had my wallet. So we went looking for a police station. We found one midway between the Louvre and the Pompidou Center. The first thing that made us aware we weren't in America is that this headquarters is housed in a 17th century courtyard.
Devant la Joconde, votre portefeuille se trouvait où?
Oui.
Il se trouvait où?
Dans ton pantalon?
Ah oui, je crois que oui. Dans
Tout le quartier ici, c'était... D'abord ici, Molière est né à côté, dans une maison à côté.
Ah oui?
Qu'est-ce qu'il y a eu encore? Il paraît que Marat serait mort dans cet immeuble.
Dans la cour?
Ici?
Ouais. Je sais pas si ça a été rénové depuis d'ailleurs, mais enfin... Et autrement, bon, pour des miracles, c'est-à-dire qu'il y avait tous les spectacles disons, des gens, les ambulants, les cracheurs de feu, les prestidigitateurs. Et justement, bon, il y a toujours un cercle autour d'eux, il y avait des vols-tirs, il y avait des vols à la tire, comme vous avez été victime, comme je vous disais tout à l'heure.
En somme, le quartier n'a pas vraiment changé.
Finalement, il revient, il est rétrograde, si vous voulez. C'est pas une évolution. Hein. Parce que j'ai voulu la voir, la Joconde. Quand j'y suis allé, j'étais tout petit.
Vous avez quel âge?
6 ans. Il y a 20 ans à peu près. Et il y avait tellement de monde à la voir que j'ai pas pu. Et puis j'étais petit, je passe par-dessus les autres. Et depuis, je suis jamais retourné.
Oui, c'est ça. Ici, en bas?
Oui, en bas. Et le Louvre, alors, qu'est-ce que vous en pensez?
Moi, je préfère Beaubourg.
C'est Beaubourg?
Oui.
Vous trouvez ça joli, esthétique, vous?
Oui, oui.
À quel point de vue?
Vous, non?
Ces tuyaux partout, là. Vous trouvez ça beau?
Oui.
Hein?
La collection est belle.
La collection?
Oui, le musée.
Disons, c'est un endroit touristique, quoi. Quand on vient à Paris, il faut venir voir Beaubourg, il faut venir voir le Louvre, Beaubourg. Ici, on voit encore.
Tour Eiffel.
La Tour Eiffel. Ah, voilà Paris. C'est ça, Paris. Et puis les quartiers chauds la nuit, quoi. Ça se limite à ça. Hein.
We went back to the Louvre.
I suppose you're bound to get some sort of an impression.
Do you go to museums at home?
Not a lot, I wouldn't have thought, no. I find that overawing in many ways. I find difficulty in appreciating that sort of art, actually.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm interested in. Tell me more about that. What, when you say that sort of art, what do you mean? Is there some that you do and you don't?
No, I'm basically an engineer. So I can understand engineering and scientific types of things, you know, such as the equipment. That sort of equipment quite interests me. But when it comes to the finer points of pictures, I really couldn't tell one from another.
Did you like it?
Yes, it's nice, especially the Mona Lisa.
Did you like the Mona Lisa?
Yes.
Why?
Why? I just like the colours and sort of variety on it.
How about you? Did you see anything in there you liked today?
Well, Mona Lisa is quite a nice painting.
Was it really? Did you really like it?
You don't have to say it if you don't want to. You don't have to say it. You can if you want to. Or you don't mind it.
C'est du savant. Tu vois si tu as perdu des choses dans ton discours.
Pardon. Je fais un film sur le centre.
Ah, monsieur, oui.
Et j'aimerais bien savoir ce que vous pensez de tout ça.
Tout ça. Eh bien, monsieur, moi, c'est pas de l'art pour moi. Ça, c'est bien hier. Non. Je suis d'une famille d'artistes depuis 1870. Tous mes grands-pères peignaient. Mais ça m'amuse. Je ne fais que rire comme une petite folle. J'ai jamais tant ri depuis
C'était
longtemps.
comme modèle avec un peintre qui était oncle à
Oui.
madame.
Et
Je
madame
vous assure, c'est
a
pas du
été
tout.
modèle de peintre qui est de
Avec
mon
ma
oncle.
coiffe.
Je l'ai menée là pour qu'elle voie ce que c'est que
C'est
l'art
la différence. Hein.
maintenant. Oui.
De voir tous ces beaux tableaux.
Voilà.
C'est du
Allez.
nouveau, quoi.
Il
Voilà.
faut tout pour faire un monde.
C'est tout.
Mais comment on peut définir l'art?
Ah, l'art, c'est ce que l'on ressent, mais chaque époque a sa sensibilité. Et ben, nous avons été élevés dans une époque avec une certaine sensibilité. Et ici, mais ça nous fait rire parce que nous
que c'est
trouvons
pas du
que c'est
tout.
n'importe quoi, à n'importe quelle sauce. Et c'est de l'art maintenant.
Oui.
Même les vieilles boîtes, tout est bon pour ici. Tout. La poubelle, tout est bon.
Plusieurs.
Voilà, nous nous sauvons.
Oui, voilà. On s'en va maintenant. On va.
Merci.
Avec plaisir. On va peut-être passer comme Marie-Thérèse. On va dire qu'elle est du feu.
I mean, I know that art can be difficult. There can be some art that can be difficult, but for how long it remains difficult? And difficult art doesn't remain difficult forever, really. I mean, there's a time when, after all, its ideas are so absorbed.
David Hockney is an English artist who has pieces in the Pompidou Center and in most other major modern museums. His background is British working class, and he's very skeptical of any theory about what the average museum goer understands, or likes, or even hates.
I think a passionate hatred of something, after all, we should be talking about passions in a way. I would think that's rare. I mean, somebody like you can come along and ask them, and they say, well, I don't care for that, or I don't think that, but it's not a passionate remark they're making. They're passing some slight judgment, that's all, and I'm saying you shouldn't take it too seriously or bother about it, really. I mean, I do think art's for everybody. They all need it. We all need it. Without it, I mean, there's not much sense in life, I think, to me. All religion, I suppose, you can have religion or you can have art, or both.
Démocratiser l'art, ça n'est pas forcément le vulgariser. Il n'y a pas d'art populaire sans art élitiste. C'est une structure verticale.
French intellectuals have been debating the theories of Beaubourg since it opened. Marcelin Plenet is a prominent Paris art critic.
On ne voulait pas mettre entre l'objet d'art et sa public toute une préconception, une idée de qu'est-ce qu'il faut connaître au sujet de l'art. Il voulait vous voyez, il voulait cette réaction émotionnelle.
Je crois dans la réaction émotionnelle valable qui implique quand même un minimum d'information. Les gens arrivent avec une demande réelle et qui se retrouvent complètement perdus, c'est-à-dire tout juste capables de circuler autour. Ils passent dans ces boyaux, ils rentrent par un boyau, ils circulent à l'intérieur de cet intestin, ils ressortent par l'autre boyau, mais ils n'ont rien digéré. Une fois qu'ils sont là, qu'est-ce qu'on va en faire? Alors on va leur donner des bouteilles de Coca-Cola à boire. C'est très bien aussi. Mais une fois qu'ils seront désaltérés, qu'est-ce qu'on va en faire? Ils vont rester sur leur demande. Ce qui fait que les gens qui arrivent là ne sont en aucune façon préparés à recevoir ce qu'il y a à l'intérieur.
How do they know that? No idea how they know that. And if they think they know what went on in their heads, they're a better man than I am, and you should talk to them. I think that's a very, very arrogant idea. It's like people who suggest, poorly produced little opera companies shouldn't exist because it's terrible. but there might be somebody just turned on by something. The first opera I ever saw was I thought it was wonderful. I was 10 years old. I'm sure if I saw it now, I'd think it was a crappy little, there they were trying to play Puccini with probably 15 people in the orchestra instead of the usual 5. But if somebody's turned on, and even if you're in a long queue line, I did 10, I mean, to suggest that nobody is getting anything from it is an arrogance. It's terrible, I think.
Vous y allez?
Maman, t'es là?
Mais bien sûr, maman, elle est là. J'ai pas hypnotisé, maman. C'est très dur, c'est vrai.
Qu'est-ce que vous faites?
Je suis le silhouettiste de Beaubourg. Je découpe les portraits au ciseau, comme ça. Alors très finement. J'essaye de faire pour le mieux. Je peux vous faire une rose si ça vous fait plaisir, très rapidement. Vous voyez?
Ça vous plaît, finalement?
Absolument. Parce que pour la bonne raison, c'est qu'il faut choisir dans la vie. Vous savez, soit qu'ici en France, même un gars comme moi qui est un cadre, et il faut choisir. Ou vous êtes cadre ou chômeur. Alors si vous voulez qu'on pointe chômeur, moi je préfère travailler au même titre que le public et gagner ma croûte avec mes capacités. Quand on a des capacités, il faut les exprimer. Il y a tant de gens qui ont des capacités intérieures et ils ne les expriment pas. Ici, on a la possibilité de le faire. C'est quand même pas inintéressant quand même. Vous savez, dans le fond, on tourne aux sources. Ici, ça a toujours été. Ici, c'était l'ancienne cour des miracles. C'est tout ça. Alors donc, on tourne aux sources, sans s'en rendre compte. On n'a rien inventé. Hein. Et puis les artistes sortaient d'où? Ils sortaient toujours des endroits comme ça. Et puis ça fait gagner la vie à des gens qui seraient dans le fond des chômeurs. C'est déjà pas un mal, non? Dans cette société, il faut quand même se le faire. On vous fait une rose comme ça. Voilà. Avec l'usine à pétrole, il y a du monde.
Aîné, tu veux aller dans les échelles tout à l'heure après, il y a 2 boules normalement qui est dans les échelles.